Warden may not have rolled out the welcome wagon, but from the looks of things, it's up to us to try to help quell this riot.
Alright, what's going on YouTube? Big Zay back. I'm playing a Watchmen game for the first time. Literally just started it. So just push him down? I don't really know. It's like a grab, punch. Roll. Oh! Like a Batman game. Anyway, okay, so I got the little one. Watching violence. I wanted to do a video on. I was watching the Billy Joel documentary film on HBO Max. Just like his life. Contact and deal more damage. Yeah, just about his life, basically. X. And so he's talking about, and of course, I mean, I like Billy Joel's music, you know, so that's why I watched it. And I enjoy, I've always liked like concert films and artists, like documentary movies. Like I watched most of the, I haven't finished it, about the Amy Winehouse, you know, Rush, Beyond the Lighted Stage, Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, the Garth Brooks one, the Shania Twain one, and who knows how many others, right? Slipknot, Metallica ones, Guns N' Roses. And so, yeah, so I'm watching it, and you know, he got his whole life, and you know, he's gotten married multiple times, and you know, I'm on my second marriage, so I got no right to judge, right? But I'm watching it, and he's like, oh, you know, I was moving forward in my life, and I was moving forward in my career, and you know, it affected the marriage, it affected fatherhood, it affected the children, such and such, right? And so then it took me back to watching the Garth Brooks one, and it's very, you know, very similar. And in Garth Brooks, you know, his first wife is like, oh, you know, what's it called? Is there a block? Can I block? His first wife is like, oh, you know, this was his dream, and you know, he would be gone for months at a time, and but when he came home, we had award shows and all this type of stuff, and you know, he says, you know, I wasn't there for my children's, you know, development, and yeah, and so then I connected those. I was like, you know, it's like the same kind of thing. You know, they're saying pretty much the exact same kind of thing, and I felt bad both times around. You know, I couldn't help but feel bad for. We actually start on fire. Oh! I couldn't help but feel bad for the wives, and I was like, you know, need the night owl to lift the gate. Oh. That's not A, that's circle. Anyway, I couldn't help but feel bad for the wives, especially when both artists, both guys, were kind of so nonchalant about it. You know, there was like that, oh, you know, I wasn't a good father, you know, I wasn't the best husband. But it like, but my career, you know what I'm saying? It's because I was, my career, my dreams, the music, and, you know, this and that. And you're like, wow, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of sociopathic, isn't it? And kind of, you know, very selfish, very like, you know, my personal life suffered, but I had to keep it pushing. Or I was keeping it pushing, or I was moving forward, and my personal life suffered, had to suffer. And then, of course, you know, you have the outside world that, you know, laments for a little bit. You know, there's the news, the news stories and the newspapers and the videos, such and such is getting divorced. And, you know, there's that very temporary lament. But folks keep moving. Folks move on. You know, the media moves on, society moves on, the culture moves on. You know, and they continue to praise the person. I mean, usually a male, but not that I can't apply to. Um. Yeah, but then they still praise the person. Is there no pause? Okay. And so it's like they still making music, movies, selling records, and all that type of stuff, regardless of maybe how the wife may feel, the ex-wife and the children, just keeps moving forward. And like I said, you can't help but feel bad, and you can't help but kind of course they're still a child of God, they're still made in the image of God. So I'm not talking about hating anybody or over judging and condemning. If we turn to Christ, we're forgiven, and our sins are washed in the waters of baptism. But of course, I'm sure we can all agree that, most celebrities are not, professing Christians, especially not Orthodox Christians. For us to be like, what I'm saying, they really learn the error of their ways, etc. And so, of course, this just that kind of mindset, or my dreams, I had to keep it pushing, or I was making music and my album, and that of course juxtaposes kind of the Orthodox lifestyle, which family is so much central to life. We're called to sacrifice. Christ calls us to sacrifice much of our personal wants, and the Bible talks about not to care about this life and the things of this world. Really putting ourselves and our desires to the side. For families, for the church, for Christ, and all of those things are kind of, they're not the same. I don't want to say those things are the same, but you get what I'm saying. And not that anyway. And I definitely have a personal connection because being my former life, which I know I've talked about it in plenty of videos and in person plenty of times. Coming from that hustle and bustle life and chasing a dream and working with artists and being a DJ in the nightlife. I was like trying to be Puff Daddy, without the without some of the baby oil, without the baby, not some of that, but without the baby oil stuff. Trying to Jay Prince, trying to be Rough Riders and Cash Money record. Like I wanted that, right? I just wanted to be big and huge and create a huge brand that I sacrificed other people. It's of course, especially in the romantic world, and I hurt a lot of feelings, broke a lot of hearts, and there was a lot of judgment and selfishness, and this person doesn't support me enough, or they don't want to come to the club with me tonight, or they don't support my artist, and so what I'm saying, I'm just whatever, I'm keeping it pushing. I got to keep it moving, and in all of those stories, especially when substance abuses and or once you start adding in substance abuse, it's like just a trail of destruction. Especially, I can say that 100%. I left a trail of destruction in my old life. And so that's kind of the point of this video is, I kind of already said it. Christ calls us to sacrifice. And even I was watching an interview with Father Seraphim Holland here in Texas, in northern Texas. I forget exactly. I could look him up. It's near the Dallas area, but I forget where his parish is. Priest. McKinney, Texas, St. Nicholas Orthodox Church. But watching an interview of him, and he was talking about, nothing wrong. I mean, we all have to work. You got to pay the bills. But he was like, but if your career is going to affect you coaching Little League, then it might not be the best choice for you. And of course, that could apply. That applies to men and women. and I was I mean, not that I didn't kind of already know that before he said it, but that was like a powerful thing and something I keep in mind, and something, you know, I hope my wife has caught on to as well. The teaching of the church and that mindset of the Orthodox phronema of, you know, how central, how important it is to be with, to have a family, to be a part of a family, and stay connected with that family, and grow with that family, and be uh, imperative to the evolution of that family. And my wife and I went to a parish, went to a liturgy a couple weeks. I think it was last Thursday, so about a week ago. Week ago. And one of the priests that was there, he gets up to say a little thing while we're eating, and he says that he had went to this other thing. I don't remember how long ago he said it was, but a priest got up and spoke, and he said that there were people there. There were older folks and parents. Well, there were older folks there and adults there, right? And so the priest gets up and he's like, "Oh, you know, I see y'all's past because I see the elderly here. I see the present, you know, because I see the adults here." He said, "But I don't see the future because there's not many children here." So that was the flashback. And then that priest says, "However, it's the opposite of today's gathering because, you know, I see all the children running around." This is true. You know, we were there with our little one, and we were talking to a couple that had their little one, couple little ones. They were just little ones running all over the place. And that's, I mean, that's across Orthodoxy in general. One reason we fell in love with the church in our parish was the amount of little ones. My wife was still pregnant at the time, and so we saw, like, okay, when the baby gets here, she's welcome and she can be comfortable. You know, I've gone to a couple parishes, and my little one fusses, and I'm kind of embarrassed, but like, no, it's fine. You know, it's a baby. You know, like I remember once I went to a parish a few weeks ago. It was just me. My wife was working, and so I walked out of the room because she was fussing, and somebody came out to get me. I was like, "No, come back in." I was like, all right. She was fussing. Like, "No, it's okay." It was Romanian, and so that kind of, just that mindset, that pushing of family and etc. That just chase after him. It's like the opposite of kind of what the culture teaches, but that's kind of, I mean, that's what the world does. But just seeing it kind of in action with the film, the Billy Joel film and the Garth Brooks film, is just that kind of, you know, sometimes family gotta stop. What do they call that? The suffering artist or the tortured artist or something like that. You know, sometimes other people have to suffer for art and this and that, and, you know, a genius is crazy and such. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I just want to give my thoughts on being a little older. I'm only 30, but not being 20 and 21 and 23 running around, you know, doing all the things I used to do, chasing a dream, and you know, leaving a path of destruction and selfishness, etc. Like I said, I connected with that, and so I want to talk about it. And that's basically it. Thank you for watching. Come back and see me. I hope you connected. Glory to God.